just stunned in the best way. Hey, that you guys are here. I see so many familiar faces, so many freedom fighters. How many of you have made sacrifices in this past year? How many of you have made, well, yeah, I know, you're gonna have to come in a little closer, I think. How many of you have made sacrifices in this last year? Yeah, I know. Some of you have been arrested. Some of you have lost your jobs. Some of you have lost your families. How many of you have lost friends? How many of you have gained friends? New friends? Better friends, important friends, right? Today is actually 1 year to the day that the governor, the alleged governor, the soon not to be governor of this state imposed an unlawful shutdown. I will never call it a lockdown. Lockdown is prison language. Is anybody here in prison? No. Do you have a key to your house? Yes. Can you leave your house? Yes. Yes, never let the tyrants steal the language. It is a tyranny of language. They are using language such as the governor's mandate. Can a governor make a law? No. Can a mayor make a law? No. Can these policemen make a law? No. Can a health officer make a law? No. Can a store clerk make a law? No. And they are all trying to do so. This is the very definition of tyranny. Tyranny is using power without authority. Authority comes from God. Authority, that's right, come from that's right, we the people, absolutely. We are the only country that was formed and created by we the people. It is a republic, a constitutional republic of the public, of the people. When I finish my talk here, we're going to do another Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, and we're going to really think about what those words mean. Liberty and justice. What is liberty? What is liberty? Freedom. Freedom. It is freedom to think, to speak, and to act without restraint. Now, obviously, we work and we conduct ourselves in a manner where we don't trample on other people's rights. You have rights that you are born with. These are inalienable rights. That means they may not be taken from you. A right is not a privilege. A privilege is something that can be taken from you. You have the right to life. Life requires oxygen. No law can ever be made to restrict your right to breathe, period. All of this is unlawful, illegitimate, illegal, invalid, null, and void. So exactly 1 year ago, think back, it happened to be a Friday. It was Friday the 13th. What an unlucky day. Now, I want to tell you what was happening to me. I was working at the community college, at Saddleback College, and I had a little bit of an insider's view because the president of that college was telling us in advance what was going to happen. Gee, almost like he had a crystal ball, almost like he had been informed as to what was to come. Because this was right before our spring break. And he told us that instead of a 1-week spring break, we were going to have a 2-week spring break, and that we were not to return to school the following Monday. And there was a little inkling inside of me, I will just call it the Holy Spirit, and that was my discernment that told me, you are never coming back to this school. Did anybody have that discernment from the beginning going, this doesn't sound right? Something sounds fishy to me? Yes. Well, that's what happened to me. I cleaned out my classroom that day. I was the only one who cleaned out my classroom that day. I had bins and boxes of all of my materials and personal items, and I brought my car up to that classroom and I emptied it out. I knew that I was never returning, and I have not returned, and it's been exactly 1 year today. Woo. Earlier, in that time, as I say, it was Friday the 13th. My husband had the afternoon off. Do you guys remember what you were doing that day? It's kind of like one of those days locked in my mind in the day of history. And we happened to go for a late afternoon coffee. And as I started to flip through my Facebook feed, something came to me and I just made a big, you know, you can make those big posts like with the colored background, and I put, life has been canceled until further notice. And I thought, well, that might be a little strong. And, you know, in the early days, how many of you were like me, trying to just talk sense into people on Facebook? Like, have you ever thought about this or that? And then as the days went by, maybe you were sharing with them data and information and a very scary thing called facts, F-A-C-T-S. How many of you were shut down, were banned, were blocked, were unfriended, and all those other things? And as the days went on, you know, I want to go back to that Friday the 13th. My husband and I don't have TV. We don't get a newspaper, and we don't watch a TV, and we don't have a radio. How many of you are the same, right? That's why we're here, because we have not had that mind manipulation. So we really didn't have any idea what was building up. We didn't know about this toilet paper shortage, and we didn't know about people doing, you know, filling up their carts with groceries that they didn't need and all of that. So what happened is, we live across the street from Trader Joe's, and I actually have a neighbor who works at Trader Joe's. And you know how Trader Joe's is, you know the people, they know your names, they ring the little bell, they're wearing the Hawaiian shirts, they've got the new products section. So my husband and I had this little joke about, well, have you been to Trader Joe's today? Oh my gosh, you know, I've only been there once today. We would just go to Trader Joe's every day, just kind of for fun, see our friends, pick something up. Maybe there's a bag of chips you need or something, you know. So it was Friday, and we're like, yeah, let's stop at Trader Joe's. Holy smokes. We walk into Trader Joe's. People were in a panic. People had their shopping carts, and they were going like this, trying to figure out, what should I put in it? And we see the frozen food is wiped out, all the cans of food off the shelf. We look at each other. We just had like a little, you know, can cart. And we had no idea what was going on. We looked at each other and said, we have got to get out of here right now. You know what we felt? Evil. We felt evil, and we felt fear. And that was imposed upon the people who bought into it because they didn't have the ability that you guys have, which is critical thinking. Now, you have the God-given ability to choose what's right for you. You get to wear the colors you want, the clothes that you want, the mask or the no mask, the eyeglasses, the sunglasses, the hat, the hoodie. This is your freedom, your individual liberty. No one has a right, no governor, no president, no health officer, no teacher, no store clerk, no university president has any authority to tell you what to do with your individual life as long as you are abiding by the law. They are trying to impose these artificial laws to make you think that they're laws. Now I want to back up just a little bit. We got out of Trader Joe's. Actually, I want to back up quite a bit, about a week or two prior. As I said, I got a little bit of an insider's view working for this government school. How many of you work for the school or work for the government or have some kind of, maybe your kids are in school, you got a little bit of an inkling to this. Right before that spring break, the president sent us an email and said, you may not travel on your spring break. You are required to do a staycation and stay home. And if you travel outside of Orange County, you are required to report back to us where you traveled to. This was before any of this shut down. And I about blew my lid. I said to I slammed down that, whatever I could slam down after looking at the computer, and I said, he has no right to tell me that I have I cannot travel freely and that I have to report in as though I'm a child and he's my parent. Little did I know what was coming.
You didn't have to report to anyone.
No, and I didn't. Excuse me?
I said it was recommended. You didn't have to report.
Recommended. Recommendation.
Yeah, absolutely. And the way that they imposed these things were as they were required. It requires your own discernment and critical thinking, because all of that is intended to make you believe that it's required. These are the tyrannical approaches that these people in power are instituting upon us. There is no legal authority for your boss, for my boss, for your boss to have anything to do with where you go on vacation, who you see, who you comport with, what you do, what you eat, who you speak to, or what you say. All of that is, not only is it protected, it is our God-given right. So anyway, this was very interesting to me because I have always had a strong sense of right and wrong. How many are you with me on that?
Yes.
Not even if it is my own personal injustice, because frankly, I have had things relatively easy. I did lose 2 jobs, but I've thrown myself wholeheartedly into the Healthy American. But I have not been handcuffed. I have not been arrested. I have not had my children taken away from me. So by and large, I could just be living my life right now, walking my dog, going to a park, visiting my friends, making some dinner, reading a book. I could be doing all of that right now because personally, I actually am not that affected in my day-to-day life. But I am not going to stand for someone like Tasha Hamilton, a single mom of 2 kids, getting arrested by trying to put food on her table. I am not going to stand by for any of that. Or other people standing there peaceably, supporting their friends. How many of you saw today the report of a woman in Texas, by the way? Don't fall for the headlines. Oh, the governor is opening Texas. The governor has no authority to open Texas. The governor had no authority to shut Texas. Don't fall for the language. I had somebody email me and say, Peggy, isn't it awesome? The governor is giving us back our freedoms. And this is a Healthy American who is on board, who said, isn't this wonderful? The governor is opening our state. The governor has no authority to open anything or shut anything. And the idea that a person can give and take and grant the freedoms is repulsive to me. So that is why I am standing here. I'm standing here for you and you and you and you and you as well. For all of you. Because I will not stand for injustice.
You go, girl.
There is nothing more important. I've worked with hundreds, I've worked with thousands of restaurant owners who have come to me for help trying to figure out these illegal, unlawful orders to close their restaurant. Now, you may argue with me and say, well, it's a good idea. These restaurants should be closed. Well, there's no lawful authority for it. They have the right to close their restaurant. No governor has closed anything. These individual companies have closed their doors, either out of fear, out of ignorance, or maybe it is their choice. Maybe it was a good business decision for them. Maybe they are saving money by not paying their staff, but these should be individual choices. So I have worked with many of these business owners. I have worked with many parents getting their kids out of school, because these government schools are not a safe place for your kids. How many of you have taken your kids out of school or have homeschooled? All right, look around, you guys. Yeah, really great. It is not easy, and I've been an educator for 30 years. I was the former director of teacher education at UC Irvine. I did plenty of K-12 professional development for teachers, and I was appalled. I was appalled at what was required of them. I am further appalled at what they are trying to do here in the California public schools. Take a look at the curriculum that they are instituting. And so those of you that are taking your kids out or are still trying to figure that out, please go to thehealthyamerican.org. We've got lots of resources there for you. We are going to be making that one of our focus activities for the next 6 months, is helping people get kids out of school, get them going in a different learning. I call it freedom learning. And so that is one of the most important things that we can do for this country. These kids are our future. By keeping them in the government schools, not only are they being exposed to this harmful curriculum, it's a very dangerous place to be. Right now, your child can be vaccinated without your knowledge. There's a bill going in there for 11-year-olds. So remember the school nurse? You would go to the school nurse if you had a little boo-boo or something? Yeah, now they're just going to say, have you been vaccinated? No, would you like one? Okay. Without parental consent, are you okay with that? No. You already know that they can get an abortion without your knowledge. And so, this is not okay. This is what the government schools are doing.
They don't believe they're our children anymore.
Absolutely, and that's exactly where they're going. And when you put your child into a public school, they're not your child, because you are giving that consent. Sorry, I had eye surgeries. The dry air makes my eyes water. You are giving your consent that they are now responsible for your children. They're not. It's not a safe place to be. I have many remedies available for you. You do not need to worry that your child is going to fall behind by being out of school. They actually are going to thrive, and they're going to be hop, skipping, and jumping over their peers. Being in school, in a public school, and I say this as a lifelong educator, can be a very a place where their learning is going to be stunted, and you want them to be able to thrive. We have those remedies for you. Regardless of your situation, you don't have to go it alone. What I wanted to say to you today, a moment ago, was that I got a video from the state of Texas where a woman went to the bank, and I don't know if you saw that video. This just happened. I saw it today. She was standing in line at Bank of America, and they told her to put on a mask, and she said, I don't wear one, I can't wear one. And she was one person away from being served at the counter. And they said, well, if you don't leave, we're going to call the police, of course, on you for trespassing. They're not calling for trespassing. They're calling because she's not wearing a mask. You know it, and I know it. No one else was called for trespassing. Trespassing is only if you are there for unlawful intent, if you are there to disrupt the function of business. Now, she has the right to go into any store, restaurant, what have you, without concealing her identity and obstructing her breathing. But the fact is, she was at a bank. They have her property. They have her money. And she went there for the lawful purpose of conducting business. And she was one person away, and it was either a security guard. It's not clear whether it was a security guard or official law enforcement. And they said, if you don't leave, we are going to arrest you. You must leave now. So she starts leaving, and she had like a little purse on her, and somehow he grabbed the purse. What happened is she was tackled. She broke her foot in 3 places. An ambulance came. She never was charged with anything, although they are now threatening her, saying that a warrant is out for her arrest. This is in the state of Texas that is so-called open. What has happened is these government agents who have no authority to put us on any kind of lockdown, shutdown, restrictions are using what's called corporate fascism. Who's familiar with that word? Corporate fascism. Fascism is when there is no other alternative. It is total control. And they are doing it through the corporations. The government knows now that we know that they cannot make a law. There is no law. Even the Governor Newsom of this state has covered his rear end by saying, well, these are just guidelines. I never imposed anything. These are guidelines. And so if it was to be taken to court, he would be correct in saying they are guidelines, and they cannot be enforced lawfully. So what they've done is they've kicked the can down the road, using that expression, and they've made these stores be the new law enforcement. Not only the new law enforcement, but our new legislative branch of government. There is only one branch of government that has the authority to create a law. What is that branch of government?
We the people.
The legislative branch. And that would be our Senate and our Assembly in the state of California. And of course, for the federal government, it's our Congress and our Senate. So let me just speak for a moment about that the federal state of affairs right now. No president has the authority to make a law. All of this masking and all of this stuff from the occupant in the White House has zero value or authority whatsoever. Further, the CDC has no authority to issue any orders, even though they've issued 2 of them. They have issued an order stating that a person cannot be evicted from their apartment because they haven't paid the rent. They have no authority to issue an order. They are not a legislative making body. All of this has to be brought to court. There is no authority from the CDC to tell you that you have to wear a mask on public transportation, period. That authority can only come from the Health and Human Services Secretary. Beyond that, no CDC law, no federal law has anything to do with you within your state. Our state laws are taking precedence here. Let me give you an example. They're trying to tell you that you have to wear a mask on a bus, for example, that it's a federal law. First of all, there's no law. Secondly, the federal government only has authority over issues that are between states. So if there was a bus that went from California to Nevada, yes, they could, not the CDC, but the Secretary of Health, could issue an order saying that you have to wear a mask on a bus between California and Nevada, because now that goes into the realm of a federal issue. Another federal issue would be doing with the United States and other countries. So somebody flying into the United States would be subject to the federal laws because they just entered the United States. Anything that goes on within the state has nothing to do with the federal government unless they are getting federal funds. So I want to be very clear on that. Do not fall for all of that hogwash. Oh, I'm on a roll, you guys! I just want to say how thrilled I am for all of you that you're here, that you've been active, that you have been resisting, that you've been standing up, that you've been doing your part. I have 3 simple solutions for any problem, and I want to share those with you. And I'm actually very optimistic about the future. One thing that I get from many people say to me, Peggy, why don't you and the other freedom leaders create one big movement that you're all a part of, one unified voice, all of you together in one big movement, and then we would have better success. And I understand where they're coming from. I understand the desire of wanting to have a massive movement, but let me tell you, we already have it. Look around you. Would you look around you, all of you guys coming out on a Saturday afternoon with your beautiful bare faces? It's really amazing. I am actually of the view of the opposing, or not opposing, but I'm on the other end of the spectrum, that I believe instead of one massive movement that where we are all unified, we need more individuals taking their own individual action. Yes. Imagine if every person in that bank took their mask off, no one came to that woman's defense. All right? None of the shoppers came to Tasha's defense except for her friends that were there with her. What is required is each individual doing what these brave people have done, standing up for themselves and taking action. Yes, let's give them a round of applause. Each individual. I reject the notion that we need one major national movement that's going to direct and tell people what to do. That's exactly what's wrong with this country. We were founded as the 13 original colonies. Think back about it, you guys. You have in your DNA, you have in your heritage, you have in your ancestry the desire for freedom. That's why you're here today. Think about the sacrifices that were made by your loved ones. Think back through your history, those that may have been in wars. How many here have a very close link to immigration? Like how many of you, like my grandfather came from Eastern Europe, right? He came to this country at the age of 16. He fled World War II. He had an uncle that lived outside of Chicago. He came here knowing no English whatsoever. He worked in a very physical job where he was in a steel mill outside of Chicago. And I'm talking about dangerous, hot steel, working in a steel mill factory. He was able to raise a family of 8. He paid for an apartment building and was able to rent out rooms and became a landlord. Do you know what happened to my grandfather? Do you know what happened in 1968 outside of Chicago? The government came and took his building, put a wrecking ball through it, and he saw with his own eyes everything that he had worked for be destroyed by the government after he had fled a communistic regime to come here for freedom. This is in 1968. How would you like that if the government came with a wrecking ball right through your home? They're doing it right now, right through your hearts, right through your freedom and liberty. I am never going to stop. I am doing this for my grandfather. I am never going to stop. And as I say, I could just go and walk my dog and cook food and read books. I don't need to, but we all need to be doing it. Every single one of us in our own way. I don't want you to fall to the idea of someone else is going to do it for you. If we only had a bigger movement, if we all were united under one banner. I understand that, but that's not how it works. That's not how this country was founded. Think back to the original 13 colonies. Do you know it took almost 200 years? Do you know the final state that joined the union of those 13 original colonies? Georgia. I was actually on a video call today on an interview. They were doing, you're gonna love this, they were doing a protest outside of the CDC. I'm sorry, I gotta put my sunglasses on, you guys. The wind is just making my eyes tear. They did a protest outside of the CDC in Atlanta. Georgia was the last colony to join the Union of States. Think back to the original 13 colonies. I would really like you to do that. There's a good homeschool project for you right there. Study each state, its history. Do you know that this country, so to speak, we had settlers here, you know, from Europe for almost 200 years before the country was formed? Think back about that. That means they liked being in their individual colonies. They had their own language. They had their own currency. I want to go back to those days. That's what I call the freedom living communities, where we're going to have our own doctors, our own schools, our own, you know, organic farms, our own way of living. And you guys have the nexus of it right here. You have the beginning of it right here. Before you leave tonight, I would like each of you to get 1 or 2 people's phone numbers or text number that you can connect with again personally. These meetings are fantastic, and I really applaud Maureen has really taken this over and had it grow. You know, a little less than a year ago, I was invited to speak in Orange, where Amy McCamley, who got these up and running, and that I can't believe that was almost a year ago, and here we are a little further in. But the idea she had is exactly this. She said, they told me to close, they told me to stay away, I'm going to tell everybody to come. And that was her idea. She just put it out on Facebook, I'm going to be here at a park, please come and join me. That's exactly what can be done, friends. I want you to make a new friend tonight, somebody that you didn't come with. I want you to literally go around. Raise a hand if you're willing to take a phone number from somebody. Look around. Look around, you guys. Look at somebody. Are you willing to take a phone number? Are you willing to meet somebody new? Look around. Look at them. And I want you to find them afterwards. And I want you to exchange and say, this is my name. Here's my phone number. Where do you live? Let's get together for coffee. Let's support each other. So I want to finish up and I want to take questions. But the 3 main remedies that I have for any situation are, number 1, connection. Don't go it alone. Even though I talked about you don't need a massive movement to be effective, that's just a cop-out. It's a complete cop-out. And you can say, well, we didn't have enough numbers. No, you can do something. You can do something. You are doing something. You do it. You do it. That's what it takes. You guys have made the sacrifices. And you're going to be standing with dignity and integrity, feeling that I did what I could. And guess what, you guys? We all do it differently. Somebody's going to write a letter. Maybe you don't want to get up here on the microphone. I know some of you want to. That's great too, you know. I happen to not mind it. I love it. I've always been, you know, someone to cheer others on. It's just the way God made me. I'm grateful for this opportunity. For others, you might be more behind the scenes. You might want to be writing the letters or just giving a word of encouragement or just living in your truth. Just deciding I'm not going to go along with this. I'm going to conduct myself as a normal, living, breathing human being, and just that in and of itself is your own protest. Is it easy? No. How many of you are in some sort of legal wrangle or want to take some legal action? Yes. You know what? And I'm not even going to say that is going to be a remedy. It may not, but it doesn't matter. Let me tell you the 3 things. Number 1, connection. Find somebody. Give support and receive support. It is challenging to do it alone. That is what the tyrants want. They want you to feel that you are alone and that you are the oddball and that you are the one that doesn't belong and you're the pariah and you're the, you know, outlier. That's exactly what they want. And I say, bring it on. You're right. I am the weirdo. What are you going to do about it? I want to step into it. Celebrate it, you know? Celebrate it. Bring it on. Is that all you got? So number two is education. So education is the only antidote to ignorance. We are dealing with a great amount of fear and ignorance. And ignorance means lacking the information or the education. That's what I specialize in at the Healthy American. Just tons and tons of information you'll find there, friends. Documents and videos and how-tos. And you can email us. And let's have, Nari, would you raise your hand? And I know she's out there. She's my first mate on board here. She does a lot of the events and the answering. We've got Ashton, and who else? We've got lots of, oh my gosh, we've got Anthony here. Many folks that are on board with us, and many more that are on board of the Healthy American, educating, connecting. And the third point, friends, this is they all build one on top of the other. The other is action. Taking action in a way that makes sense for you. Please do not compare yourself with anybody else. Please do not say, well, I can't do what you're doing. You don't need to do what I'm doing. I'm already doing it. Right? You do what you can do, what I can't do. You can speak to your employer. You can pass out the flyers. You can go to the events. You can do something. Let me tell you this. Your action is far more important than the result. I know that sounds strange. It's very easy to be frustrated and say, well, I tried that, Peggy, and it didn't work. And trust me, I get emails like that all the time. I wrote to my boss and they still didn't care. I still can't shop at Trader Joe's. They don't care. And you're right. They don't care because they are criminals, all right? Criminals break the law. These are lawbreakers. Just like you're going to try to stop somebody from being a carjacker, the only thing that's going to stop them is being in prison. And maybe learning from that experience, learning from the consequences of the action. Please do not connect the value of your action to the result you get. Are you with me on that, you guys? Yeah. It's a different way of thinking about things. Don't connect the value of what you can do and are doing to the result that you get. Because the truth is, that result might still be on its way. You have planted seeds all along the way. Could you imagine in the summer, they wouldn't let us do this. These cops would be around here harassing us, right? Look at it, look at what we've done. And kudos to those organizing this that have reached out, that have actually said, we're gonna do this. We wanna let you know what's required. You know, that's that kind of delicate dance. There are all sorts of ways of protesting and speaking out, and you decide what works best for you. But I want to tell you this, your actions matter. They matter for your own sense of dignity, integrity, and respect. Do not let the tyrants steal your self-worth. They want you to believe, that's right, they want you to believe that you don't have any impact and that what you are doing doesn't have any result, so that you will say, well, I tried it, it didn't work, let's go home. It's easier to just go along with it. You can't fight City Hall. You know what? I am going to be fighting City Hall until my final breath, which I will never obstruct. No, I'm never going to. I am never going to. And I just want to say this, and I probably will start crying because this has been quite a year. It has been in many ways like the worst year of my life. So many losses, so much hardship, so much just incredible, bizarre activities and things that I can't even wrap my mind around, things that people are doing that don't make sense to me. But on the other hand, it's been like the best year of my life. I mean, meeting you guys, seeing what you can do with your commitment. And I also have to say this, you know, it's like, man, I love being an American. I absolutely love it. Look around. Look at this America we have. Look at it. Look at all the ages, the backgrounds. Look at the different people that we have. It's absolutely incredible. You know, my background has always been in international education. I've traveled, I've lived in other countries. I've always been fascinated by people, by their backgrounds, by their stories. My students at the college, I just want to cry when I think about them. These are hardworking individuals. These are ESL students who came from different countries. They left their families, they sacrificed. I have dentists and doctors and teachers and lawyers from Peru and Romania and Poland that are working as housekeepers in the United States because they came here for their freedom. I am not going to let them down. I am not going to stop fighting for them.
Thank you, Peggy.
I applaud them. I admire them. My husband is here, and he can tell you how many days I came home. I would teach in the evenings, 6 to 9. These hardworking individuals, many of them in their 40s, 50s, and beyond, working 2, 3 jobs. Some of them would come to the class at night, and then they would go and work after the class. These individuals, yeah, these individuals taught me so much about commitment, about dedication, about sacrifice. Rarely was there a day that I didn't come home from that class with tears in my eyes, being humbled by what they were going through, trying to learn another language at the age of 40 or 50. Some of them had left their family to come here to go back and get their families. The sacrifices that they were making. Many of you, like me, you raised your hand, have a history, a close history of family members that are immigrants to this country. That is the beauty of this country. I love this country. I love California. Yes. I am not leaving California. Who's going to stay with me till the end here in California? You know? I want people to come back to California. I'm on a mission to get people. I heard from somebody today, they left to go to Colorado. It was worse in Colorado than in California. They moved back to Modesto. And they said, we are going to do it. We're going to do a freedom school here. We want your help and guidance. I said, you are exactly what we need. Friends, I am not giving up on California. I am not giving up on the United States. We are going to go back to those founding principles. And I'm just seeing the looks in your eyes and your faces, and this is what is required. The connection, education, and action. Whenever I have a problem, I think to myself, is there somebody I can connect with that might know more about this? Is there something else I can learn about this? Maybe I don't have all the information. Maybe I'm reading the wrong headlines. Maybe I didn't dig deep enough. And the third thing is, what can I do about this? Now remember, complaining is not an action. The only thing I complain about are complainers. And trust me, I do my own fair amount of complaining, but then I think, what can I do to make this better? And I am personally involved in a couple of legal actions because I won't back down. And the other, so I will let you know all about that and keep you up to date on all that, friends. The good news, everybody, and we'll open up to some questions. The good news is that there are brighter days ahead. This is one of the best things that could ever have happened to our country. Don't you agree? People are waking up. There are sacrifices that have been made. How many of you feel smarter now than you did last year? How many of you feel more engaged, like I'm actually participating? And how many of you feel a renewed passion and purpose? Like, this is what I'm here for. You feel that, you guys? Like you were made for this time? And you know what? You were. God put you here for this day. Everything you've been through in your past, all of those hardships, all of those trials, all of those triumphs, all of those successes, all of those challenges have made you into the person that you are today. I am thrilled to meet you. I am thrilled to know that you are on board, and I'm thrilled to know that you are going to be taking that action in a way that makes sense for you. Stick with me on the newsletter. I send out ideas for action. I've got the information, the education, and I will tell you, this group that we have now, it's like 3, 4, 5, triple, I mean, however many times larger than a year ago. So the word is getting out. It does take courage, and remember, courage is also an action. Courage is not a feeling. Courage is the taking the action even when you're hesitant. And so I always say to myself, I can do it. I got this, I got this, I got this. I will handle whatever comes up. Don't think too far in the future. Just know you'll handle what comes up. You've done it so far. And then my final words here that I always rely on, you may have heard them. There's always another way, and I'm going to find it. There's always another way, and I'm going to find it. You know? also some of these restaurant owners, it's like, just put a sign up that says food bank. You're no longer a restaurant. You're a food bank. What, are they going to come close down a food bank? Right? There are gyms now that put up a sign that say, we're not a gym, we're doing telemedicine. And what do? You just give somebody a phone number to call a doctor. Now we're telemedicine. There's always another way. We are going to outsmart the tyrants. The beautiful thing is, they're just not as smart as you are. Okay? You guys, that's why you're here, because you're more clever, you're more aware, you are smarter, and you're not going to be gullible and falling for this. So what I want to end on now, you guys, is just taking some Q&A, and I don't know, Maureen, how much more time we have, but I'm here for you, and I'm ready for Q&A. Would love to hear what's going on, and yeah, let's open it up. We'll go around here. Question? Yeah. Tell me all. Where can we shop so our consumer money is not going to the enemy? Yeah.
Small businesses that aren't open.
Oh, so Open Secrets, is that a website?
It's a website, and the app is Second Vote. Those are two. Do you know of any more? Do you have them on your website?
Okay.
So we can go find out. Should
I
I
love
shop
it.
here or there?
Yes, this is part of our connection, of being connected and finding out the resources where we can shop. At the Healthy American, unfortunately, we don't have that wide of resources to keep those lists. But anybody who knows places that are open, especially in medical professionals, we need that. Where you can go that you're not going to be discriminated against. She mentioned Open Secrets.
Open Secrets.
OpenSecrets.com? OpenSecrets.org, everybody. OpenSecrets.org, where you can find places to go that are not tyrannical.
And then there's an app called Second Vote.
Second
Answer
Vote.
questions. Where do you get your coffee? Where do you get your what? There's an app called Second Vote that it asks you questions. Where do you bank? Where do you get your groceries? Where do you? Anyway, that tells you. Oh, looks like you're supporting the Democrats. And the other website that I know of is Citizens for Free Speech.
Thank you. Wonderful. We need all of these resources. All right. Yes, sir. Maybe you can chat out here.
Thanks. God bless you, by the way.
Thank you. You too.
For you and everybody else. Does anybody here know who his name was James Otis? He was an attorney who was there during the Revolution.
James Otis, the attorney who was there during the Revolution.
Does anybody here remember a movie called Johnny Tremaine?
Yes.
Johnny Tremaine.
Yes.
There was a
Can you
book
raise
by
your
that
hand?
name.
Yes.
Good. That was a Disney movie. Now, do you know who Johnny Tremaine was?
The name's familiar, but I can't remember.
Go on whatever media you want. I go on DuckDuckGo and type in James Otis, Johnny Tremaine, and you'll see a speech given by Ken York. Some of you may know who he was. He was a great actor. That speech is talking to us now. He gave that speech in 1957. It's talking to us right now. If you can get through that speech without crying, God bless you. You'll listen to that speech, because James Otis was beaten to a pulp by the British. And he's the guy that came up with the statement, taxation without representation is tyranny. That was the guy.
There you go. Johnny Tremaine and James Otis.
That was a Disney movie.
Disney movie. I'm going to look that up. Thank you.
Please do.
Yeah, we need that for our education and inspiration. Let's go here.
You can see it on YouTube. Just that one on the end of the movie. It's called Johnny
Would you like to speak up in the microphone? Yeah. Thank you. St. Francis of Assisi, yes.